Hello friends and welcome to Zia IAS. So today we are going to start our series of lectures on ecology and environment from your UPSC civil services point of view. So first of all we will be covering all the important topics including the current affairs. So static topics plus the current affairs. So static plus current affairs we will be completing. Then after completing this series then we will go to the discussion of previous year questions. So in the previous year questions, we will be discussing both from prelims perspective and from mains perspective. That is, we will discuss the last 10 years prelims questions which has come from ecology and environment, and also the mains questions of at least last 5 years. Why only 5 years of mains question is because in the mains examination, usually analytical questions are asked which are of contemporary importance. Therefore, there is no point in going towards further behind to see the 10 years question paper. We will just see the last 5 years. In case of prelims, we will see the last 10 years questions. So this is the plan of approach that we have for this particular subject, that is ecology and environment. But when I say static plus current affairs, it will take at least 45 sessions to complete this entire static plus current affairs. Now, I would also like to tell you regarding how important is ecology and environment from your examination perspective. From the prelims perspective, now when we are talking about prelims, you must understand that the preliminary exam of Indian Civil Services is combined with the Indian Forest Service examination. So we know there is a high weightage for ecology and environment in the Forest Service examination. So in the last 5 years, if you take the last 5 years trend analysis, you will see that at least 20 questions are asked every year from ecology and environment. So 20 questions into 2 marks itself is 40 marks. So 40 marks you can easily get if you can learn all the important static as well as the current affair topics from ecology and environment. And this is not a very technical subject which is like geography or anything else. And also if you compare this with subjects like history, there are very less number of facts. It is all the concepts that you need to understand and connect it with the current affairs. So it's a very easy subject. If you can dedicate some very good quality time for studying, learning this subject, this will fetch you high yield. So yield, I mean it is the input-output ratio. So input-output ratio. Now if you can give some good number of quality hours for learning ecology and environment, the output or the yield will be very high as compared to other subjects. Now from mains perspective, if we talk about our mains examination, here also most of the questions in the mains examination is analytical in nature and it is connected to contemporary events. Now first thing is that climate change or related issues are a burning issue in the world now. Even during the COVID-19 outbreak and the subsequent lockdown, the silver line of all these was the positive impact on environment. And if you look globally, all the countries, all the international organizations are giving much focus on ecology and environment, or we can rather say climate change, global warming, related issues, deforestation, etc. Very much. So considering that fact, it's a very important issue. So this is a burning issue or a very important issue. Now secondly, we know that it is in the GS paper 3 that we have this ecology and environment. But if you have seen the 2019 question papers of mains examination, in the GS 1 where you have the geography of the world and India to be learned, the questions were asked from mangroves, coral reefs. So even though these are all geography related topics, we will cover these topics in the ecology and environment as well. So from all that perspective, this is a very important subject which you can never think of skipping in your prelims and mains examination. So I will be completing this particular subject in much detail. We will have a holistic approach. We will do everything to make sure that you will be able to attend at least 90 to 95% of the questions asked in the prelims and mains examination from this particular subject with 100% accuracy. So this is what we will be doing. So today I am introducing this subject. We will be learning from the basic itself. So don't worry whether you do not know anything about ecology and environment, also doesn't matter here, because I will be completing this topic from the very basics. We will cover the basic topics and then further proceed with it. So today we will be looking into environment, ecosystem and the components of ecosystem. So these are the basic things that you have to learn in this subject. So let's start quickly. Now first we will see what is environment. So environment is a natural component in which biotic as well as abiotic. So environment is the natural component in which biotic and abiotic factors interact among themselves and with each other. So biotic plus biotic interaction, abiotic plus abiotic interaction, biotic abiotic interaction. So three types of interactions you will see. But before that, what is biotic and what is abiotic? So biotic means which has life. So biotic is nothing but those components which has life. This is biotic. Now what is abiotic? Which does not have life or there is no life. So this is abiotic. So environment is a natural component in which biotic and abiotic factors interact among themselves and with each other. Now, why all these basic subjects or basic terms are even important for you is because in the year 2015, in the UPSC preliminary examination, there was a question to give the correct definition of what is ecosystem. So UPSC can even ask you basic terms, and the four options that the UPSC will give you, at least two among the options will be very close to each other. So if you do not know the concept very clearly, you will not be able to pick the right answer. So that's why we are starting from the scratch to make sure that whatever questions we get from ecology and environment, we will be able to crack them. So first concept we discussed is environment. Now the interactions. Now what are these interactions? Interactions between abiotic and biotic components. So these interactions makes the habitat and ecosystem of an organism. So we will see what is a habitat and we will also discuss what is ecosystem. Now let us see what are the components of an environment. So environment consists of physical factors, biological factors and chemical interactions. So these are the components. So these are the various components of the environment. First one is physical factors. So nutrients, water, air, etc. These are the physical factors in an environment. So physical factors, they have physical properties. Nutrients, water, air, all these have physical properties. Second one is biological factors like the biomolecules, the organisms, etc. which has a biological character. Now third one is chemical interactions. This includes chemical cycles, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, etc. So carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, these are all examples of chemical cycles which we will be discussing in detail again. Don't worry about that. We will take up this topic separately. So these are the components of the environment: physical factors, biological factors and chemical interactions. Now let's come to biosphere. Again, very important concept. Now bio means life. So bio literally means life, and biosphere means the sphere on the earth where there is existence of life. So biosphere is nothing but it is the biological component of the earth. So biological component here means that it supports life, or the life supporting component of the earth. Okay, so the life supporting component of the earth is called the biosphere, and the biosphere includes three things, which is the lithosphere, hydrosphere and the atmosphere. Now lithosphere refers to the land, hydrosphere refers to the water resources and the atmosphere refers to the air. So air, water and land. So biosphere is where the air, the water and the land interact together, and in which there is an existence of all these three. So this particular area, so air, water and land. So where there is an interaction or the existence of three of these, air, water and land. So this is biosphere, and biosphere is where the life is possible, and biosphere supports the life on earth. Now biosphere is the sum total of all the living organisms on earth plus dead organic matter which is produced by the living organisms, which means the biosphere includes all living organisms on the earth. Anything in the earth which has life, the living organisms plus dead organic matter which is produced by the living organisms. So this is called biosphere. So bio is life and sphere means the place where there is an existence of life or which supports the life. Okay. Now another important fact is that biosphere is absent in extremes. So what does it mean? This means that there is an absence of life in the extreme climatic conditions, or in extremes of the earth there is an absence of life. So in the south pole, in the north pole, that is the polar region. So we have the polar region, the north pole and the south pole. So in the polar region, again in the high mountains, so high mountains and the deepest oceans, so there is no life. So biosphere is absent in extremes of the north and the south pole. It doesn't mean that there is no life at all in the north and the south pole, but in the extremes, we are talking about the extremes. Whereas in the polar region you can see some form of life like the lichens, mosses, etc. Whereas in the extremes of these poles, in the north pole and the south pole, there is an absence of life, or biosphere is absent, which does not support life, and in the highest mountains and the deepest of oceans. Okay. Now let's see this biosphere. This is what I have explained to you. Atmosphere, which is the representation of air. Hydrosphere is the representation of water resources, and lithosphere is the representation of earth. And biosphere is where all these three, atmosphere, hydrosphere and the lithosphere, they interact or they meet. So from this what we can conclude is that life is the characteristic feature of the biosphere. So life is the characteristic feature of biosphere. So biosphere is nothing but which supports the life. Now let's discuss about habitat. We have seen that the interactions result into two types. One is habitat and another one is environment. So let's discuss about habitat first. So first one is habitat. Okay. So habitat is nothing but this is the physical environment in which an organism lives. So this is a physical environment in which an organism lives. Like for example, we have a habitat. Our house or our home is the habitat that we have. Likewise, every living organism in this earth has a physical environment in which that organism lives. And this physical environment in which the organism lives is called the habitat of that organism. And many habitats together, they make up the environment. So if many habitats are put together, then this makes the environment. So we can say that environment is the culmination of many habitats. So environment is a culmination of many habitats, and a single habitat may be common for more than one organism which have similar requirements. So what does it mean? It means that there is no one specific habitat for every organism. There can be one habitat in which more than one type of species live. But what is the condition here? These species, these organisms which share the common habitat. So for those organisms which share the common habitat, the requirements would be the same. Like for example, climate, availability of water, availability of food. So those organisms which have similar demands or similar requirements, they can share the single habitat. So a single habitat may be common for more than one organism which have similar requirements. Now example is an aquatic habitat supports fishes, frog, crab, phytoplankton, etc. So it is not that one habitat is specifically meant for one organism or one kind of species. It can be common for more than one organism. Now certain names of certain habitats Like for example, forest is an example of a habitat, river. So these are all examples of certain habitats. Now let's come to the difference between a habitat and an environment. So we have already seen that environment means a culmination of many habitats. So many habitats together, they make up the environment. Now habitat always has life in it, but the environment does not necessarily have life. So habitat definitely will have life, but environment, it's not necessary to have life in the environment. Now let's see further. A habitat is always a preference of one species, where an environment could be a preference of many species that could eventually become many habitats. So habitat means the physical space in which an organism lives. So habitat can be a preference for one species. Whereas when we come to environment, it is a culmination of many habitats. So what happens is that environment can be a preference for many species. Example, in an environment we will be able to see many types of habitats. Okay, and all habitats are environments, but all environments are not habitats. This is very important. Okay, so if this is the environment, all the habitats, so this is environment. So here all the habitats are necessarily environments, but the environments not necessarily habitats. The environment governs the properties of a habitat, but not vice versa. So I hope this much is clear for you. Now let's move on to ecosystem. So let's see what is an ecosystem. Ecosystem is the functional unit of nature. So functional unit of nature is the ecosystem, and here the living organisms interact among themselves and also with the supporting physical environment. So in the ecosystem, in an ecosystem, the living organisms, so they interact with each other, and also they interact with the physical environment in which they live. Now physical environment, it can be the air, the soil, the water, etc. So the interaction of living organisms among themselves and with the surrounding physical environment is the ecosystem. And everything that lives in an ecosystem is dependent on the other species and the elements. So there is a dependency, that every organism which lives in the ecosystem is dependent on other species. Now what does it mean? This means that if one part of the ecosystem is damaged or disappears, it will have an impact on everything else. So this is what is meant by that. So if one species or any one part of the ecosystem, it disappears or damages, then this will have an impact on the other parts of the ecosystem. So that is why there is a theory or a law of dependency in the ecosystem. And an ecosystem can be of any size, but usually it encompasses specific and limited species. For example, the aquatic ecosystem. And this feature of the ecosystem, that is, usually an ecosystem consists of specific and limited species. So this feature of the ecosystem makes the ecosystem different from that of the environment. Now we have seen that environment is a culmination of many habitats, but there is no limit. But usually in an ecosystem, even though it can be of any size, any large or small, but usually the ecosystem, it consists of specific and limited species, and this is the characteristic of the ecosystem which makes it different from the environment. Now let's come to the classification of ecosystem. So we can classify the ecosystem broadly into two categories. One is terrestrial ecosystem and the second one is aquatic ecosystem. So terrestrial ecosystem means the ecosystem which is supported on land, and aquatic ecosystem means the ecosystem which is supported on water resources. Now the examples of terrestrial ecosystem are forest, grassland, desert, etc. So these are some of the examples of terrestrial ecosystem, whereas examples of aquatic ecosystem includes pond, lake, wetland, river, estuary, etc. So these are aquatic ecosystem examples, and these are the examples of terrestrial ecosystem. Now, another classification is natural ecosystem and man-made ecosystem. I am not going into the detail of it, not very important. So, natural and man-made ecosystem. So, natural ecosystem, the examples are again forest, grassland, desert. These are all natural ecosystem. Again, ponds, lakes, rivers, these are all examples of natural ecosystem. Now, there can also be man-made ecosystem. So, examples of man-made ecosystem, a very good example is aquarium. So, the aquarium that you have in your homes, this is a kind of man-made ecosystem. You are creating an ecosystem for the organisms in the aquarium to live and interact together. And another example is crop field. So, crop field, another example of man-made ecosystem. So, this is another broader classification of ecosystem. Now, let's come to ecology. So, here we will be discussing about what is the difference between ecology, environment and the ecosystem. Already we have discussed about environment and ecosystem. So, now we will take up ecology. So, what is ecology? Basically, ecology means it is the study of interactions between organisms and the surroundings occurring within an ecosystem or the environment. So, first thing is, it is the study of interaction between the organisms. So, interaction between the organisms, between two organisms, and then between an organism and the surroundings. Surroundings here refers to the physical environment. So, surroundings or the physical environment occurring within an ecosystem or the environment. And now let's see what is ecosystem and also environment. We have already discussed it in detail, not going into the details, but still ecosystem, it's a functional unit of the environment, and environment is a group of ecosystems. Now I'll also quickly brief whatever we have learned till now. So, first thing, environment. So, environment, it can be comprised of almost everything or a small region. If you take a small region, whatever is available in this small region, everything that is available in the small region, it consists of the environment. Now, what is habitat? Habitat is where the organism lives. So, habitat can be said as the area in which the organism lives. Now, next is the biosphere. So, biosphere is the region on the earth that supports life. So, biosphere can be said as the region on earth where there is existence of life or supporting life. Now, ecosystem, this is another concept that we have discussed. So, ecosystem, it is the functional unit of the environment. Okay, functional unit of the environment where the producers, consumers, decomposers interact with each other. Okay, so I hope this much is clear for you. Now, in the year 2015, in the UPSC preliminary examination, a question was asked regarding the definition of ecosystem. So, the question was to describe, or which one among the following is the best description of ecosystem. So, this was the question. And the exact definition or the description of the ecosystem is that a community of organisms together with the environment in which they live. That is, organisms plus the physical environment or the physical space in which they live is the ecosystem. So, this is the correct definition. Next, let us discuss about the components of an ecosystem. So, components of an ecosystem can be broadly divided into abiotic and biotic components. So, as we said, abiotic components are those components which has no life. So, there is no life in case of abiotic components, and biotic components are those components which has life. Now, abiotic components are those inorganic and non-living parts which act as a major limiting factor. Now, what is a limiting factor? Limiting factor is single factor can limit the range of an organism. Now, let's discuss further about the limiting factor. basically there are a lot of factors which determine the survival of an organism. So there are many factors which will determine the life or the survival of an organism, and one single factor which can limit the range of an organism is called the limiting factor. Let us see some example to understand the limiting factor further. Suppose for example, the seeds do not germinate quickly in evergreen rainforest. Now if we take the evergreen rainforest, okay, in the evergreen rainforest there is a good availability of rainfall, there is lots of vegetation, and also there are many number of organisms. But in case of the rainforest, the seeds does not germinate easily. What can be the limiting factors here? Here the factors, the enabling factors are rainfall, vegetation, availability of large number of organisms, etc. But here the limiting factor is that because it is a evergreen rainforest, there is an excess of rainfall. So because of excess of rainfall, what happens in the evergreen rainforest is that the surface soil is heavily leached. Leaching means carried away by the running water. So leaching means carrying away by the running water. So the surface soil, which is considered to be the most nutrient rich soil, so the surface soil which is highly rich in nutrients, it is washed away due to leaching. So therefore the quality of the soil becomes very poor. So the evergreen rainforests have poor quality soil, and this is the limiting factor. Okay, so limiting factor is nothing but the factor that can limit the range of an organism. So I hope you got this, what is limiting factor. Now again, another limiting factor can be that the germinated saplings, the small saplings, they may not be able to survive in the evergreen rainforest. Why? Because of the lack of light. So lack of light means that the sunlight will not be able to reach the lower levels, or the sunlight will not percolate or penetrate into the lower levels because of the dense canopy in the rainforest. So because of dense canopy or the taller trees, the sunlight will not reach the lower levels. Because of the absence of light or the shade, it is the limiting factor. So these are the limiting factors. And there was also a question related to this in the UPSC preliminary examination. So in a previous year exam, there was a question. The question was that if a tropical rainforest, that is an evergreen rainforest, is removed, it does not regenerate quickly as compared to tropical deciduous forest. And the reason is that the soil of the rainforest, it is deficient in nutrients because of leaching. So this is the reason. Okay, I hope you got the idea of what is this limiting factor. Now let's come to biotic components. Biotic components, I will not be going into much detail because we will learn about these biotic components separately in a different lecture. So I will not go into much details of the biotic components. I will just explain it to you. So biotic components can be autotrophs, heterotrophs, macroconsumers and microconsumers, or otherwise called as saprotrophs. I'll just explain what are they. Details we will see later when we discuss about the food chain. So first one is autotrophs. So autotrophs, they are the primary producers. So basically the autotrophs are the primary producers. Can you just imagine some of the examples of autotrophs? Autotrophs examples are the primary producers. Examples are green plants which prepare their own food. So the producers, the green plants. Then there are certain bacteria, then algae. So every organism that can carry out photosynthesis. So that is preparation of their own food. So every organism that can carry out photosynthesis is an example of primary producer. Now these are all in the terrestrial ecosystem. Again in the aquatic ecosystem also we have autotrophs. In the aquatic ecosystem, we have microscopic algae, which is called as the plankton. So plankton or the microscopic algae is the primary producer in the aquatic ecosystem. So this is with regard to terrestrial ecosystem, and this is with regard to aquatic ecosystem. So this is the autotrophs. So autotrophs means they are the primary producers. Now the second category is the heterotrophs. And they are also called as the consumers. So heterotrophs are consumers, and consumers, the characteristic of the consumers is that they are incapable of producing the food by their own. So they are not capable of producing their own food. So what they will do, they will depend on organic food which is derived from the autotrophs, that is from the plants, animals, or both. So they are dependent upon the organic food which is derived from the plants, animals, or both. So plants or plants plus animals. So this is again another classification which we will see. Now we have the micro consumers and the saprotrophs, which is the micro consumers. So let's see what are the macro consumers and micro consumers. So next we will discuss about the macro consumers. Okay, macro consumers. Again, the macro consumers can be further divided into primary consumers or secondary consumers. Primary and secondary consumers. So primary consumers are the herbivores. So this is what we said, the organic food, it is derived from either plants or plants plus animals. So herbivores are the primary consumers which feed mainly on plants. So they consume plants or they feed upon the plants. Example is rabbit, again sheep. So these are some of the examples of herbivores or the primary consumers. Now we also have the secondary consumers. So secondary consumers, they feed upon the primary consumers, which means that they eat the primary consumers. Example, snake, again dogs, etc. Okay. Now we also have another category apart from primary and secondary, which is called the tertiary consumers. So tertiary consumers are those carnivores. So tertiary consumers are also called those carnivores which feed on both primary and secondary consumers. So they feed upon both primary consumers and the secondary consumers. Example is lion. So lion, they can eat the wolf, snake, etc. Again we have another classification, that is the omnivores. So omnivores are organisms which consume both the plants and the animals. Example is human beings. So human beings are an example of omnivores. Okay. I hope this much is clear for you. So this is all about the macro consumers. Next we have the micro consumers, or they are also called the saprotrophs. So saprotrophs, they are the decomposers. So micro consumers are those bacteria or the fungi, and they obtain their energy and the nutrients from dead organic substances, which is called detritus. So they obtain the energy and the nutrients that they require from the dead organic substances called the detritus. Now examples are earthworm, some other organisms that live in the soil, etc. So they are detritus feeders and they help in the decomposition of organic matter, and they are called detrivores. So this is again very important, detrivores. I hope this much is clear for you. So now we have discussed about all the biotic components. So components of the ecosystem, we have discussed about the biotic components. Now next we will see what are the abiotic components. So these are the abiotic components like the light, temperature, rainfall, altitude. Altitude is the height. Organic and inorganic components, salinity, atmosphere, buffering capacity of the earth. So these are the abiotic components, and abiotic components are those that doesn't have no life. So no life or life is not supported. So this is all with the first lecture in the series. We will be continuing this series. So until we complete all the static plus the current affairs, we will be continuing the series. So keep watching and do share this video with your friends if you have felt that this is helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you.